You sit down after the dishes, and when you finally stand again, there is a heaviness in your lower legs that was not there 10 years ago. You reach down and feel the slight ridge of a vein beneath the skin, tracing it the way you might trace a crack in old tile. If you want to understand why those veins are changing shape and why soaking the lower legs in the right ingredients can help encourage them to settle and fade over time, do not look to the pharmacy creams that coat the surface and wash off by morning. Do not look to compression stockings that press from the outside without ever reaching what is weakening those walls underneath. Look instead to something prepared in a warm basin, with ingredients the old healers of the mountains would have recognized without a single label. Welcome, my name is Jian Chen. What we are going to discuss today matters for how long you can stand at the kitchen counter before the ache forces you to sit, for how far you can walk beside your grandchildren before you have to stop. Varicose veins are not simply cosmetic. In a body carrying 6 or 7 decades of living, they signal that blood is pooling, that vessel walls are under slow and steady strain, and that circulation is asking for help in ways most people do not know how to answer. Your doctor may not point you toward what I am about to share, because it does not arrive in a prescription bottle. It does not fit inside a 12-minute appointment, and it is not in the treatment guidelines hospitals are built around. But the mountains of Sichuan have carried this knowledge for a long time, and today I am going to give it to you. My name is Jian Chen. For over 50 years, I have practiced the healing traditions of the old mountain masters of Sichuan province, China, where I still live and work in the same village where my family has tended to the sick across many generations. The teaching I return to every morning is the one my grandfather placed in my hands when I was 14 years old. He said the body is a garden. Everything you see growing above depends entirely on the health of what moves and lives beneath the soil. He was speaking about the belly, the gut, the deep interior river that governs everything else. Modern researchers have since confirmed many of the pathways the old masters described through observation, mapping how gut function regulates inflammation, vessel integrity, and the movement of blood. But in the mountains, we watched this truth hold steady across 5 generations before the laboratories arrived at it. You tend the soil. In my village and the surrounding mountain communities, I have watched 4 generations of women move through their 60s and 70s with legs that carried them well. Women who stood at fires for years, who walked steep paths, whose vessels held long past the age when venous disease was claiming people in the valley towns below. The older women taught the younger through watching and doing. When outside researchers eventually came to study what mountain communities were doing differently, they found what the old women had always understood. The mineral preparations, the plant compounds, and the thermal practices woven into each evening were addressing the vessel walls in ways the laboratory had barely begun to name. The researchers were not discovering anything new. They were arriving late. Before we begin, I want to say one thing. One of the ingredients I am going to name will surprise you, and the 9 out of 10 people working on their veins at home have never thought to use it in this way. The order in which these ingredients are combined matters, my friend. Each one builds on the one before it. So please stay through to the end, because the final practice determines whether everything else holds. Before we go further, I want to ask you something. Leave me a comment below and tell me your age and how long you have been living with veins that give you trouble. Does the heaviness arrive in the afternoon, or does it meet you before you have even stood? I read every single comment on this channel, and the answers you share shape the videos I bring you next. Your experience is the reason this work continues. In this video, I am going to show you the hidden mechanism that most topical treatments never reach. I will take you through the full preparation, every ingredient, every amount, every temperature, and timing detail. I will tell you what patients begin to notice in the early weeks and what develops over months. I will share the supporting habits that allow the soak its deepest work. And I will save the most important piece for last, my friend. because it determines whether the full system reaches its potential. One small favor before we begin. If you are not yet subscribed to this channel, please take 2 seconds and do that now. Many people who find something useful here realize afterward they had not subscribed. It costs nothing, and it helps this work reach more seniors who need it. That is the only reason I ask. Now let us begin with the problem itself, because understanding it is what makes the solution make sense. In the language of my tradition, varicose veins are understood as a stagnation of blood in the lower channels. When the qi that should keep blood moving upward toward the heart grows weak or obstructed, blood gathers in the vessels closest to the surface. The walls expand to hold the pressure. Over time, the small valves inside the veins that prevent backflow become less efficient. The veins stretch and widen. The characteristic blue-purple lines appear. Once vessel walls have been under pressure and inflammation long enough, any preparation that cannot penetrate the skin and reach the vessel structure from within will accomplish very little. My patients come to me after years of creams and years of stockings. The creams work on the skin above the vein. They cannot reach the walls themselves or the valves held inside them. Compression stockings apply external force that may reduce discomfort during hours of wear, but do not restore what is weakening underneath. What the old tradition understands is that the vessel walls must receive something that reaches them from within the tissue, carried inward by warmth and the right minerals together. That is precisely what this protocol provides. The approach I am going to describe is built on what my grandfather called opening the channels from the outside in. He observed that certain combinations applied through warm water produced results no cream ever matched. The warmth opens the pores and the superficial vessels. The minerals and plant compounds in the water enter through the skin and reach those vessels from within. The warmth relaxes the smooth muscle lining the vein walls, releasing the chronic tension held in vessels under long, steady pressure. Magnesium, which the skin absorbs reliably through warm water immersion, supports the structural integrity of those walls and addresses the low-level inflammation that has been quietly weakening them. And the botanical compounds, drawn from ginger and rosemary, support circulation through the very channels the old masters identified as governing the lower limbs. The aging-specific reality here matters greatly. After 60, the digestive tract absorbs magnesium far less efficiently than it did at 40. The skin, however, remains a reliable pathway. Research has since confirmed what alpine healing traditions demonstrated across generations, that the skin immersed in warm water draws in minerals the aging gut increasingly struggles to deliver. The laboratories came to this conclusion several decades after the mountain villages were already living it. Here is how you prepare this soak. You will need 4 to 6 thick slices of fresh ginger root, half a cup of Epsom salt, a quarter cup of raw apple cider vinegar, and 2 sprigs of fresh rosemary, or 1 tablespoon of dried. Bring 2 quarts of water to a full boil. Add the ginger slices and reduce to a simmer for 10 minutes. The water will begin to turn a pale gold, and you will smell the warming character of the ginger rising with the steam. The old masters would say at this point that the water has woken up. After 10 minutes, remove from heat and transfer to your basin. Add the Epsom salt and stir until dissolved. Then add the apple cider vinegar and the rosemary. Let the water cool until you can lower your foot in without discomfort, near 105 degrees. Warm enough that the vessels open, but gentle enough for legs that may already be sensitive. Place both feet and your lower calves into the basin and rest there for 25 to 30 minutes. Sit somewhere comfortable and do not rush this. The preparation does its deepest work when the body is not holding tension. When you finish, pat the skin dry gently, then lie down and elevate both legs on a firm pillow for 15 minutes. Repeat this 3 to 4 times each week. Most patients notice the first signals of change within 3 to 4 weeks. If you are managing blood thinners or any circulatory medications, Please speak with your doctor before beginning any new herbal protocol, as some plant compounds can interact with those treatments. Dorothy of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, was 71 years old when she came to me. She had spent 32 years as a postal worker walking delivery routes in every kind of weather, and her legs had earned every vein they carried. She had been applying pharmacy creams twice daily for 3 years without lasting relief. What had been overlooked entirely was the role of magnesium deficiency and vessel wall inflammation. No one had pointed her toward transdermal mineral work or toward the botanical preparation you now hold. She began the soak 3 times per week. By week 12, she reported a 62% reduction in her self-rated evening ache, and the most prominent vein along her left inner calf had visibly reduced in diameter. She told me, Jian Chen, I had stopped believing anything would actually help. By week 10, I was cooking the whole dinner standing up. That had not happened in 4 years. Before I continue with the supporting practices, there is something that shapes how well any external protocol works in a body past 60. Gut bacteria that support vessel health from the inside have typically declined by a third or more by this age. Probiotics alone cannot bridge that gap without prebiotic fiber to sustain them, and without postbiotics, the actual healing compounds the bacteria produce. The cycle remains incomplete. Think of it as soil work. Seeds need prepared earth, and the living organisms beneath the surface that make nutrients available to roots. All 3 parts of that system must be working together, or the garden gives very little back. The first supporting practice I give every patient managing venous congestion is this. Each evening after the soak, lie on your back and raise both legs against the wall for 10 minutes. No equipment required. What this position does is allow gravity to draw pooled blood back from the lower vessels before the body begins the night's repair work. Patients who add this habit consistently find that morning stiffness in the legs begins to reduce before any visible change appears in the veins themselves. Let me pause here for a moment, because this is what my patients ask about most when they begin seeing results. They want to know what I use for that internal gut terrain, the foundation beneath everything else. What I have landed on is BoochBod, a kombucha gummy, not a pill, which matters for many of my patients who find capsules uncomfortable or difficult to keep consistent. It brings together prebiotic fiber, live probiotics, including the clinically studied strains Lactospore and postbiotics LM1004, and postbiotics in one daily gummy. It also contains dandelion root, which the mountain healers of my grandfather's time used to support the liver channel and the vessels it governs. Over 30,000 people are now using it. The link is waiting for you in the description below. And please, speak to your doctor before starting any supplement, particularly if you are managing other conditions. The second supporting practice is simple. Each morning, before eating, drink 1 cup of warm water with the juice of half a lemon squeezed in, the warmth of the cup in both palms before the kitchen has fully woken up. In my tradition, the sour quality is the flavor of the wood element, which governs the liver and the vessels the liver maintains. The morning warm water encourages gentle liver function and begins moving the qi of the lower body before the weight of standing asks it to work. The third practice builds directly on the soak. 5 minutes of slow walking immediately after each soak, while the vessels are still warm and open, carries the circulatory benefit deeper than the soak alone can reach. Think of the soak as opening a gate. The short walk sends something through it before it closes again. And now we arrive at the piece I have been saving for last. Without it, everything described so far works at perhaps half of what it is capable of. The old masters of my tradition identified 2 plants that speak directly to vessel wall vulnerability from the inside. Hawthorn berry, known in the mountains of Sichuan as the heart's guardian, has been used to support vessel wall integrity for over 1,000 years. And fresh ginger consumed as a tea works differently than ginger placed in the soak. Applied to the skin, ginger opens the surface channels. Taken internally, It moves stagnant blood through the deeper vessels where no topical treatment can follow. Here is the preparation. Bring 2 cups of water to a boil. Add 1 tablespoon of dried hawthorn berries and 3 thin slices of fresh ginger. Reduce to a gentle simmer and let it run for 15 minutes. Strain and drink 1 cup warm in the hour before your evening soak on the days you soak. On other days, drink it in the morning before eating. The hawthorn carries a gentle tartness, and the ginger adds a spreading warmth. You will feel moving across the chest within minutes. Together, the old masters called this the preparation that moves what is stuck and nourishes what has grown thin. The outside researchers who eventually came to study hawthorn found what the mountain tradition had demonstrated for generations. Consistent use was associated with meaningful improvements in how vessel walls hold under sustained pressure, matching closely what the mountain healers had already observed in their patients. The old ones were not waiting for those papers. The mountain only nodded when they arrived. Frances of Chattanooga, Tennessee, was 73 years old when she came to me, a retired school librarian, with spider veins across both thighs and varicose veins along her inner calves. She had been practicing the soak faithfully for 4 weeks and seeing early change. What had not yet been addressed was the internal layer that amplifies what the external soak can accomplish. When she added the hawthorn ginger tea on soak days, the rate of visible change over the following 8 weeks accelerated markedly. The spider vein area on her left thigh had reduced by 74%, and the morning heaviness that had been her daily companion dropped from something constant to something occasional. She told me, Master Chen, the first 4 weeks were good, but these last 8 weeks with the tea have been something different. My mornings feel light in a way they have not since my 40s. This is the complete system, my friend. The soak opens the channels. The tea nourishes from within. The evening elevation returns the pooled blood. The walk after each soak extends the benefit deeper. And the gut terrain, properly tended, prepares the body to receive and use all of it. After 50 years of watching what actually produces lasting change, here are the 3 principles I return to most often. First, consistency over intensity. 3 soaks per week done faithfully across 12 weeks will produce more real change than 7 soaks in the first week and nothing after. These vessels respond to patient, steady practice. Second, temperature over duration. The soak works through the opening that warmth creates. Too cool and the vessels stay contracted and nothing enters. The water should feel warm enough that the legs exhale and settle into it, not so hot that the skin flinches. Third, prepare the tea and the soak on the same days. The internal preparation and the external one were designed by the tradition to work at the same time, each reinforcing what the other has started. 3 mistakes I see most often among patients who begin this on their own. Mistake 1. Using water that is too hot. Many assume more heat means better results. Very hot water strains skin already sensitive from years of vein pressure and can increase surface inflammation rather than reducing it. The therapeutic range is warm and sustained, not scalding and brief. Mistake 2. Skipping the ginger simmer and adding everything to the basin at once. The active compounds in ginger root are fully released only through 10 minutes of gentle heat. Adding ginger slices directly to warm water produces a fraction of what the simmered preparation delivers. This step is not optional. Mistake 3. Expecting visible results in the first 7 days and stopping. The vessel walls took years to arrive at their current state. The most meaningful change in my patients almost always appears between week 4 and week 8, after the period when most people have already given up. What I want you to hold as you leave this video is the understanding of what you are truly protecting. This is about the morning you walk down the stairs without bracing for the ache that used to meet you at the bottom step. About being on your feet long enough at a family gathering, that you are still there when the grandchildren fall asleep on the couch, that you do not have to say your goodbyes early because the legs have given out. What you are protecting is not just your legs. It is the morning you step outside before the rest of the house wakes and move through the garden on your own terms. It is never too late. I have watched patients at 78 begin this practice and find real change waiting for them, change they had written off as impossible. The body, at this age, holds a quiet willingness to shift when we meet it with the right care and the right patience. The garden is still yours to tend, my friend. Let me lock this in for you. The problem is stagnation in the vessel walls, which surface creams and compression stockings cannot reach. The reason the soak works is that warmth and minerals together carry plant compounds through the skin directly to those vessels. The protocol is ginger, Epsom salt, apple cider vinegar, and rosemary, simmered and cooled to warmth. Soaked for 25 to 30 minutes 3 to 4 times per week, followed by 15 minutes of leg elevation. The supporting practices are the evening wall elevation, the morning warm lemon water, and the short walk taken immediately after each soak. And the master practice, the hawthorn ginger tea, consumed warm in the hour before each soak, is what takes the full system from partial results to something worth continuing long term. If this video gave you something worth keeping, please share it with someone who needs it. A sister, a longtime friend, a spouse who has stopped looking for answers because nothing has worked yet. They deserve to know what you now know. Subscribe if you are not yet subscribed, so the next video finds you when it arrives. And leave me a comment below. Tell me which part surprised you most, or which practice you are starting first. I read every single comment on this channel, and your answers shape what I bring you next. If you would like to explore BoochBod, the kombucha gummy I mentioned, the link is in the description, waiting for you whenever you are ready. Until the next time, I am Jian Chen, and the garden is not finished yet.